Welcome to the Freaky Film Club. It's a very special Christmassy episode, and I am joined by my two friends, Damon and Mike. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Hi.
Today we are taking a look at a holiday movie, Christmas Bloody Christmas. So this movie came out in 2022, and it was written and directed by a guy named Joe Begos. And I can barely read I have this lighting and like I can't even read what I wrote now. Let me change my Christmas lights a little bit. Okay. So there isn't a lot of like big names in this, but there's some people that's kind of like, oh, it's that person. Like there's definitely some people I recognized. Um, there was a comedian who is in it early on who's definitely I recognize from a lot of stuff. Like he was on At Midnight and he was in the reboot of Mystery Science Theater. Um, but we'll kind of go over them as we get to the characters. But first thing I noticed about this, I mean, you kind of you brought it up before we started recording, Damon, like the just the visuals and like how this film looks, the lighting and everything.
yeah, the in film lighting terms, it's called practicals. So basically, they use um, Christmas lights and things that you would see normally at Christmas time to light sort of the set. And so a lot of the scenes are people just bathed in like green light or red light, and they did a really good job with it. It really, I thought it was exceptional.
So the opening of this movie is kind of interesting. It's got a couple different small segments of like fake commercials. We see a commercial for Slim Jenko, which is like some alcohol, and it's like families just all gathered around having it together. uh,
I didn't get that. I wanted to talk about that.
okay,
It's actually an alcoholic beverage that's okay for kids to consume. That's what they said in the ad. It
I've never
said,
heard of it before. I think it's just a fake thing they made
well,
up.
I know that. I know it's fake, but that was what you guys took from that too, right? That this is an alcoholic drink that they're marketing for everybody.
yeah,
Is that right? It's
yeah,
a malt.
apparently,
Okay.
yeah.
And then that's what they were drinking later in the film, right? That's what the she had that bottle of. I think that
Did
was the
she
same
really?
thing.
I
Yeah, I
wasn't.
think so.
I didn't
I
know
saw the
that.
label.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
So that's like a well-known fictional brand in the movie. But yeah, that was interesting. That I guess the kids drink that too.
Yeah.
We saw it in Black Christmas, right? Didn't the kid take a swig from the bottle?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess Christmas time, it's okay to for the kids to have a little.
Yeah. So then there's also an ad, I think, for like a fake horror.
Yeah, that was a weird commercial. The Is that the one where someone was walking in on two people in like a basement,
Yeah.
and it was like the story of somebody, I'm guessing, who gets murdered. Um,
Right.
yeah, that looked interesting.
Yeah, I'd see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then we had the ad for there was like an ad for weed, and I think that was
in the
all.
cookies.
Yeah, yeah, THC cookies. Yeah. Um, Yeah, and I think that was all of them. I don't know.
Well, and
It's
then
pretty
they had the
quick.
ad for the Santa.
Oh, right. Yeah. And the Santa, Robo Santa, of course. Robo Santa
This
Plus.
these ads reminded me of Grand Theft Auto commercials.
Mm, yeah, definitely. I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the Lester Lord story. The one where the woman, it looked like to me they were gonna do a sexual act, and
Hmm.
then they cut to the next commercial. Oh, we forgot one. Santa live in concert at the Civic Center.
That's right. Yeah.
And then they had the THC. It said regulation busting THC in the cookies.
Hmm.
Yeah, this to me that I don't know what you guys took from that, but those commercials took from me like a society, kind of like GTA commercials that's like crumbling.
Hmm. Sure.
You know, morals are loose, things like that.
And I think it immediately kind of sets the tone that like we're gonna be in for like some over the top silliness with
Yeah.
some of this. Yeah. Um, so yeah, then we get into like the real film, and not that this isn't part of the real film, but we get into the main part, and it opens up in a record store on Christmas Eve. And our main character is Tori something. Um, and
Roy Tunes.
and it's a really busy, like for being Christmas Eve, like in a record store in general, like it's really busy in there. And they're just about, it's kind of like toward the end of the night. Everything's kind of wrapping up.
You
Um,
should say what kind. It's not like uh, a record store that would be. It's more of like a hipster kind of record store, right?
yeah, yeah,
Uh, as opposed to like a commercial record store.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. And we get, she gets in, she's talking with her friend slash well, employee, I should say, because she's the owner. And she's talking about how she is gonna go and meet some guy that she found on Tinder and like bang him. And he's trying to convince her to go drinking with him instead. And he shows her a video of this guy's music.
The Tinder guy.
Yeah. And it's just awful. And she's like, all right, fine. Like, I'll hang out with you. And so then they go and they meet up with Jay and Lana. And Jay is the guy. He's a guy that I saw from various things. He's played by a comedian, and he's been in like tons of different like comedy like shows. Some of these other people are I've seen them in some stuff, but I couldn't really put my finger on it from where exactly. So they're at the toy store, like just a couple stores down, and we get the first glimpse of Robo Santa.
Yeah.
And so they they just have like one drink in there. They're not really, they don't stick around too long. They're just kind of talking with their friends for a little bit. They do like the fake snow thing.
So this is like a toy store that they're in, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And
Doesn't one of them kind of get freaked out by the or she someone mentions that the fake or the Robo Santa like made some weird noises and kind of freaked her out earlier on.
yeah, I believe so. Like she was like, she's like, I'm glad they're finally like going to be taking this out of here at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so eventually, Rob, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Robbie is the name of the guy, the other guy that Tori was with.
The love
Um,
interest.
yeah. So Robbie and Tori go back to a bar, like a local bar, and start drinking there. And It kind of cuts back and forth between the bar and the toy store, and you kind of see a POV of the Robo Santa starting to move, and he's headed towards Lana and Jay, and they're about to, well, they're having sex. They are definitely having sex at this point.
What
At the
was
bar, wasn't there a news story on about the Santas becoming rogue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
and was that ever explained why they went rogue?
Mm, I don't recall. I don't think they ever really do say, do they?
Not that I recall either. What would be your speculation of what happened to them?
Hmm.
I mean, did we say yet that this thing is a former military grade uh, weapon that was used to do like automated strikes so that real soldiers wouldn't have to go in. And I don't know, I kind of took it as kind of like a Terminator type story where it just becomes like self-aware and wants to enact what its purpose is, which is to kill. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Or it could be the spirit of Chucky got into it, and
Okay.
Crossover.
uh,
Yeah. I mean, they just approved it before it was ready.
Yeah, because they asked to just shut that off at the bar, right? The news story.
yeah,
Hmm.
they do. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. So Robo Santa at the toy store grabs an axe and starts making his way over to the happy couple. And meanwhile, the sheriff comes in to the bar, and he's like bitching and moaning about his life.
Yeah, the dog.
Yeah.
That's why I'm spending Christmas
He
alone.
does not like the dog.
Yeah, well, the dog doesn't like him, I guess. The dog, he's the only person the dog doesn't like. And then he was going on about how the wife like and the family left him like for to see family maybe, I don't know. And they left the dog with him and he doesn't want to take care of it.
Right. Yeah.
And I
So
didn't get the there was a weird vibe between the sheriff and Robbie. Didn't it seem like they had a problem with each other?
yeah, it seemed like he was like jealous, kind of.
yeah.
Who was jealous?
The
He's like
sheriff,
you're going
Jealous
with
of
him now.
what?
like their relationship,
Okay.
or what he perceives as their relationship,
Okay.
because he wanted to get maybe with Tori.
And yeah, I thought that was interesting too that isn't he on the job?
Yeah, it's Christmas.
I guess.
Yeah, yeah. He buys everybody another round and then pays for everything.
One thing I'll say is I was always questioning where is everybody in this town? Throughout the whole movie, I was questioning that.
Like, what do you mean? Where?
There was no one else around. No cars driving around, nobody walking on the streets.
Oh, it's Christmas Eve.
So,
Well, it's generally, it's people are with their families. You know, I wanted just to bring up the point of we were talking before the recording about Tori's sort of personality and like if you didn't like the movie, like maybe it's one of the reasons it's because she kind of rubbed you the wrong way. What was Tori's personality like in the movie?
Mm, well, very opinionated.
And
I mean,
kind of a lush too, like drinks way too much.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of cynical about the world.
Much like those commercials at the beginning of the.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
But the
wanted to.
guy, Robbie, was kind of like that too, though. I mean, he was just as opinionated
Hmm.
and had the same kind of lifestyle, the drinking and all that. I don't know about, he seemed a little bit more optimistic maybe about the world. You know, she kept bashing A Christmas Story,
Yeah.
and he questioned that. You know, like, what's wrong with you? What's your problem with that movie?
Yeah, it's a good point.
I mean, what is wrong with her?
I didn't have a what?
I mean, what is wrong with her? That is a great movie.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is. Uh I'm with you though. I did get actually a little irritated with the constant swearing. I mean, it was like every other word, you know. It just I get that there's people out there like that do talk like that, but it just kind of became too repetitive, you know. It was like becoming a crutch in the script. It's like every other word or every other sentence, effing this, effing that. It
Hmm.
just got old, you know. I was sick of hearing it, but I still liked the character.
I was gonna say, yeah, I knew someone when I was in college who she was a lot like that. She actually worked in a record store as well, and yeah, every other word was like a curse word or an F word, and drank way too much, and always was giving her opinions on pop culture type things. So for sure, it's a real life character, a real life person that I knew.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, the basically the first 40 minutes were the two of them just arguing about music.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, what's the best Christmas song?
Yeah, which I didn't know any of those. Did you?
No. Mm. Uh, yeah. So back at the toy store, Santa, the Robo Santa axes Jay and proceeds to chase Lana in the first person point of view. And he eventually does catch her and like starts smashing her against like this display, like glass display. And from outside, they're walking because they're actually walking out of the bar at this point that this is happening, and they can hear this happening. Robbie and Tori, and they think that like it's just them having sex, so they just think nothing of it. So they ignore that commotion that's going on in there and continue on. And so we have our first two deaths of the movie, and Robo Santa's pissed.
What did you think of the death sequences?
Great.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that they were
Yeah.
well done. They were kind of reminiscent of like a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so then Robbie and Tori get into Robbie's car and head back to Tori's place. And you kind of see like a shot of the Robo Santa like trailing closely behind them with his axe.
What was their the one thing with the car is that it would only open up on one side, right?
Yeah, his car was really shitty, and it was filthy on the inside too.
And then what I noticed too is it had a California license plate, and so we were trying to figure out where was this record or where was this fictional town supposed to be in because it's snowing on. The other good thing that they did with sort of the mise en scène is that throughout the movie it's snowing, which is kind of nice. But I was just wondering, I don't really know too many places in California that are like that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And I mean, I read that it was shot in like some mining town in California, but yeah, it is weird that it would be snowing.
Well,
Um,
isn't it? It's like that in like the Lake Tahoe area,
sure. Yeah.
Northern California,
Yeah. So it's not out of the
away from
realm
the coast.
of possibility. Yeah. So, um, but yeah, I don't know if they ever specifically say in the film,
Yeah.
but
I thought I remembered Tori mentioning something about Rhode Island. Not that she was there, but that someone she knew was from there. And
mm,
I think she mentioned how she didn't like the East Coast. So, um, I mean, and again, if they had a California license plate, I think we can say that's where it was, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, that's fair. So yeah, now so they get into the house and she mentions that her sister is there, but they're sleeping. It's her sister and her sister's husband.
You know,
Um,
one thing I wanted to point out there, he had Robbie had asked her that. He's like, "You didn't tell me they were here," and she's like, "Yeah, I did tell you. You don't listen to me." I don't remember her saying that though. Do you?
no,
And I actually was gonna go back, but I'm like, she could have said it because there was a lot of dialogue.
yeah,
They were
definitely,
just motor mouths, like constantly talking.
yeah,
And which I mean, I thought the banter was it seemed realistic.
mm-hmm,
Like these people really would be well, yeah, they're friends. And it was realistic dialogue, I thought, but it was a lot of talking.
yeah,
So I'm like, I don't know when she would have said it. I'm not going to go through that whole thing again.
And then when they get to um, playing music, it's like the theme from Unsolved Mysteries.
yeah. He's like ragging on her about having the vinyl because he's like, how much music really was in that show? There's a lot of like, funny stuff in this scene because like they're also like they go on the sequel discussion and she's like, Pet Cemetery 2 is better. And he's like, you're
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
So did they actually play some Unsolved Mysteries music or not?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's what they put the music that they put on is the
Oh,
Unsolved Mysteries.
I was amazed that that exists, that you could have a record of the Unsolved Mysteries soundtrack.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having that. If that does it really exist in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they continue on with their just their discussion in the house and um
They're also still drinking very heavily.
yes. Uh and eventually Robo Santa starts to bust down the neighbor's door. And um kind of like we got some more like back and forth here. So
Oh,
like
yeah, there's like the guy when he busts into the neighbor's house, like the neighbor guy, he's like, what does he say? Like something like I'm calling the police or like you don't belong here or something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. And he well so as this Santa's breaking in,
They're cross cutting.
they cross cut between Robbie and Tori, like kind of making their way upstairs to fool around. And the neighbor gets axed in the back, the dad, presumably. I mean, he gets axed in the back and he starts to like crawl and like try to make his way up the stairs.
Yeah, I thought
And
this sequence was particularly well done.
hmm, um, then he
Because then when
kills.
he crushes the guy's head, it's sort of like it cuts back to sort of Tori sort of like in the throes of
Hmm,
ecstasy.
yes, yes, and kills the wife. I don't really remember how he kills her. Probably axes her again too.
Well,
Um,
there was a girl, I wasn't totally sure on that family structure because there was the dad, maybe, that
mhm.
first came out and then he was killed on the stairwell and then to me it looked like a younger girl came out. That's not who you're saying was the wife, are you?
The one who was like in the bathroom.
Yeah, and she got
Yeah.
the axe or something in her eye.
Yeah, she did seem a little younger, but I don't know. I just assumed they were a couple. Uh,
Okay, I thought that was a daughter,
okay.
but I don't
Maybe I
know.
need to watch it again. Maybe she's younger than I thought. But
Yeah, I
but
don't know.
yeah, I mean, but she gets killed. And
Yeah.
then the son, we see a son come. It was
And
like
he
a really
comes
little kid.
comes down the stairs and he's like looking at the presents.
And he thinks
Um,
it's the real Santa.
Mm.
and they actually do something in this sequence that even the director of Terrifier 3 said he would not do in a movie, and that is what
Kill?
show a kid being killed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they actually want they want like even in all of Friday the 13th, like you never see a kid being actually killed, but they actually show a kid being killed in the sequence.
That's pretty nuts. I mean, the only other movie that like comes to my head that I have seen like a kid die is Maximum Overdrive with the steamroller.
Uh,
Yeah. And even
yeah.
then they took some of it out from the original like the cut. But um yeah, that's pretty crazy. And then to like I mean just moments later use that kid.
Through the window.
Yeah. It was a pretty
Was my favorite
shocking
point.
moment.
That was my favorite point in the movie.
Yeah, definitely over the top. The
So we should
kid.
say go back a little bit, and so the uh, Tori goes downstairs after they get done fooling around, and she remembers that she left some. What was she like cooking nachos or something like that?
Hmm.
And then she's like, "Oh, they're burned." And then she looks out her window, and her window has the advantage of the neighbors, and she sees that kid getting killed. And then so that's when she freaks out and tells Robbie to come downstairs and that tries to alert her sister and her husband and everything that something really bad is going down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And also the power gets cut as they're all sort of like get scrambling to figure out what to do. Um, and then Robbie goes close up to the window, and
Well,
this
just a
is
minute. There, we have to point out some of the funniest parts I thought were with the brother-in-law.
oh yeah,
He was such a
he
dope.
yeah. It's like so you don't want me to go or
Yeah, he was so loud, you know.
yeah
And then
yeah
I laughed. I laughed when he talked real loud for the first time, and he was just so clueless to what was going on. Robbie said he it never keep in mind, Robbie never even met this guy.
hmm
He says, "Shut up, you C word." Never even met him, and he's talking to him like this.
yeah
Whoa.
I also
yeah
thought it was funny that the sister and the husband that are sleeping, like they're in the same apartment or whatever condo, and
Yeah.
um, they don't wake up like when they
Yeah.
first come in and they start playing the music and they're getting all rowdy and drunk. I mean, that would wake me up for sure.
yeah
I was
totally
gonna bring that up because they were being really loud. They had the music playing. The only thing I thought of is that they were like passed out, from doing something, but they said Mike doesn't drink. Mike is the brother-in-law. They didn't they say that?
Yeah, they
Because she
did.
like
yeah he's
kind of
sober
poked fun out
yeah
of him, like he doesn't have fun,
hmm
you know?
yeah
So yeah, I was wondering that too. Like, how did they not hear all this? But anyway,
yeah yeah so then this is the point where the kid's body goes through the window as Robbie kind of peeks out and you see like the silhouette of Santa go past and then
yeah,
suddenly like smash and another thing that kind of reminds me or is like Friday the 13th because that happens. He definitely
Yeah.
throws some bodies through some windows. Um,
What did you think though, the fact that they threw the young boy's body through the window? Do you think that broke any like law of horror film?
I'm fine with it.
Well, I'm gonna say what it took me a moment to even realize that was the kid, but then what I thought was even worse is that Robbie used the body as a barrier, and then the kid got like, if I remember right, didn't the axe get like stuck in him, and then he like just flung him
Yeah.
into the other people? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like this kid.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Sucks. On Christmas Eve of all nights too.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean it just seemed like we're constantly upping the ante with these modern films. And
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm getting desensitized, but I'm like, well, I mean, I wasn't not like I wasn't shocked. I was like, holy shit. But at the same time, I'm like, well, cool.
I think what they did well with that sequence was that, like Mike was saying, they made it humorous, where like he picks up the kid's body and starts
Yeah,
using his,
yeah.
so it's like you can't help but laugh, so
Right.
it off puts like, what did I just see? Like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's really disturbing.
True. Yeah. It's like you
Well,
have
and
to
I'll
walk a
say, what?
I was just gonna say you have to like walk a fine line if you're gonna do stuff like that, I guess.
I was gonna say, are we getting desensitized? Yeah, I'd say so. We have to keep pushing the line back because, I mean, things have been done already. Other
Mhm.
movies have done. We have to keep moving the bar higher or lower, however you want to look at it. So yeah, I think we're desensitized. And I'll say this, you can cut this out if you want, but I think proof of desensitization is that we have people applauding the murder of somebody. I'd call that desensitization,
Are you
if
talking
you know
about
what
the
I'm referring to.
CEO of United Healthcare?
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. But I won't comment any further. Um, so yeah, oh yeah, so at this point, the sister gets her neck snapped, and the husband,
He like falls on the ground and he's like sort of begging for his life.
yeah, yeah. We don't really see what happens to him though, right? It's more like kind of cuts away before, but we just assume he was like gets axed.
I thought I got axed in the head. Yeah.
Oh, did he? Okay. All right. And then so then Robbie and Tori head to the car, and
Oh, yeah. So, um, they're like parked next to like some sort of like lowrider car, and
yeah,
somehow they, as they're pulling out, they damage the they damage the neighbor's car, and he
yeah,
comes out he comes out to like, he's like, I just got this like fixed up or something like that. I can't believe you've done this.
hmm yeah. And they're trying to warn him, and she's like, "You don't understand. Like there's someone coming," and of course he gets killed by Robo Santa.
Well, and I'll add too, they made it a plot point that they can't get out on the passenger side because they crashed into the car on the driver's side, so they couldn't get out if
Yeah,
they wanted to. So that
right.
was an important point too, is that they were stuck in there.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Um. So Robbie, so then at this point, after that happens, he backs up, tries to get out of the situation, and then ends up like crashing again. And
Mhm.
Robbie um, gets pulled out of the car by the Robo Santa, and it just gets killed.
I was the first time I saw this, I was particularly sort of sort of shocked that they killed him in that, um, because he had been such an integral part of the story throughout. It's like they killed one of the main characters. Like, what did you feel about that?
It did seem very quick, although for being so short, I mean, I guess like I don't know. It made some sense to me. But yeah, it was kind of surprising.
I thought for sure that they were gonna both make it through, but
I was um I was surprised too, but then I realized I guess they're kind of going for like the final girl thing. Um, because it was early on. I thought that they killed him early on. I mean, they had killed the I get killing the sister and the brother-in-law because we really didn't even know them yet. But yeah, I thought he would have survived a little bit longer. And I was kind of disappointed too, because I actually kind of liked their back and forth with each other. It would have been kind of neat to see what he would have done if he kept going.
Hmm.
yeah, it really the film sort of isn't as funny after he dies. There's not as much humor towards in that last final act.
Yeah. Yeah, so just after Ravi dies, an officer pulls up and um he shoots Robo Santa with a lot of blasts from the shotgun and takes him down. So we think. And while he's down, he has Tori, like escorts Tori into the police car, and she's like, "You gotta go and check the toy store. Like the Santa, like, and obviously he's like, oh, this is crazy." Um, and while they're kind of having this frantic discussion, you see like the Robo Santa rising up in the front of the car and start coming at him again. And so he gets out and eventually I think he does put another shot into him, but he gets the gun taken from him and then he gets shot by the Santa.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
another death. And so Tori freaks out and she starts taking off in the police car. And I think she runs over him, the Robo Santa.
Hmm.
And she starts fleeing really quickly away from the scene.
Well, and then
And
she's covered in blood from the deputy,
yeah, right. Yeah. Which
which plays a
leads,
part in the upcoming interactions.
right. Yeah. So she runs into two more officers and it doesn't look good at all because she's in a car without
And there's
the,
also a ambulance as well, right? She flags down a bunch of like two cars, cop cars, and
Hmm.
an ambulance,
yeah, yeah,
and they immediately like just put their guns on her because she's like covered in blood, and she's obviously like in a stolen police car.
right. Yeah. So yeah, it just doesn't look
You
good for
know,
her at all.
that 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 officer, that the one with the longer hair, you mentioned less comedy in after Robbie died, and I agree, but there was comedy with that one officer with the longer hair. Uh he was weird. I didn't get his it's like he and Tori had a history, but it was never explained. It because he's like he was grabbing her by the hair and handcuffed her, and he got like such an attitude. He's like, "Okay, I'm the one calling the shots around here." Um, and then just a little bit after that, he started smoking. Did you notice that?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, this is weird. You're on the job. We're just gonna have a cigarette.
yeah. It is really weird. Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she gets taken back to the station for questioning, and we see the sheriff again from earlier,
Hmm.
and he is like, "Well, we don't think you had anything to do with this, but we need to figure out what the hell's going on." And um, he's like, "Why don't you just like get cleaned up and calm down a little bit?" And then they kind of plan to go out. They get geared up and they plan to go out. And she tries to stop them. She's like, "No,
Something
you
happened?
guys,
You guys
you're
can't
gonna
go back to my
get
house. I
killed.
told
Like,
you."
you need to like,
Police tore
you need
this
more
window.
than this." And like just a little bit after this, like they get distracted because the ambulance like starts flying into the scene.
Yeah, so the Robo Santa is driving the ambulance, and it's headed directly to like the front of the police station, as though he's gonna ram it.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you think about that? That the Robo Santa is able to drive.
Why not?
I kind of put it up there with like Michael Myers driving a car.
Yeah, I mean it's a little silly, but
Well, what's wrong with Michael being able to drive? He's a person.
because he spent all of that time like in a mental institution.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like who taught him?
as the doctor said, somebody gave him lessons.
It's just it is a weird visual.
And I have to admit, how how hard is it really to figure it out? You
What do you
know,
mean?
driving.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
no one said that it has to be done well, you know? He could have been crashing into stuff, bouncing off guardrails, things like that on the way. You figure it out.
that's true. I
There's two
guess.
pedals, the steering wheel.
One
Yeah.
thing that I thought though with this scene is how did the Robo Santa know where Tori was?
Well, maybe he just knew it was going to be at the police station because he saw her going away in the police car. I don't know.
That's a good
I
question.
don't know.
The Terminator drives,
True.
I think.
Well, he rides a
Oh, yeah, he
motorcycle for
does.
sure. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know about the first one, but he definitely drove in the second one.
He probably has like advanced like tracking. Like he probably
Yeah.
can like see in a far radius.
And I think, and again, we're going off here on our own, but machines learn how to understand other machines. You know, they get how to operate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanted to say this, the one thing I questioned is because back when Tori was in the police car first discovered, um, she was making it sound like she thought that this Santa killer was actually a real guy. She
Yeah.
said that this is a murderer. He must have taken the costume and he's wearing it. But then what I thought was odd is that didn't she know? Didn't she see that news story that these are uh, the robots going rogue? And even like the police, I'm sure they would have heard that story, you know, of knowing that this isn't a person.
I don't know. Maybe she was just they were just too distracted at the bar at that point to really be paying attention to the story.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe she just didn't want to believe that it was a killer robot.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's not gonna really come to mind.
I don't know. Mm, so yeah, so the Robo Santa once it arrives ends up killing the officer and the sheriff. Um, Tori escapes in that same ambulance.
Oh, the Robo Santa does enter the police station, and then she's able to use a taser to stun the Robo Santa and knock him over.
Oh yeah.
And immediately after she does that, she tosses the taser aside. And this is sort of like, something in horror films that the number one thing I cannot stand is that they do something effective against the main villain, and then they just throw their weapon, to the side. It's just to me, it's such lazy writing.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah.
Now, this is the only thing that's been able to stop him the entire movie, and she just tosses it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty stupid.
Well, didn't she think at that time that it was over, right? She thought he was done.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, whenever I watch a horror film, and I always think like the good guy has the bad guy on the ropes. I always
Mhm.
think to myself like, take that, pick up that axe and like, you know, chop their head into like a
Yeah.
thousand pieces, while you
Yeah.
have the advantage.
Finish the
Yeah.
job. Yeah.
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 So then she makes her escape and gets into the ambulance and tries to drive away from the scene. But little does she know, Robo Santa has hitched a ride. And he starts to make his way up toward the front. And so what she ends up doing is intentionally crashing it to try to send him through the windshield forward, flying forward. And then she like while he's downed, she like lights something up and like lights him up and like causes a small explosion between the two wedged cars and his body.
Are you talking about the setting the gas tank on fire?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then
I thought that was going to be the end of the movie right there. Actually,
yeah,
the
I mean,
explosion. Yeah.
it did seem like, all right, what more can we do here? But no, now we have the like Robo Santa with like his exoskeleton, like his like innards like exposed, and now it's very much looking like the Terminator.
Mm.
And he starts to continue, like he continues the chase, uh, and she makes her way into the record store. And this is where like the final showdown happens. So basically like some highlights. I mean, like while she's being chased, she tries to uh light like a garbage up so that she could turn the sprinkler system on to try to like, I guess, an attempt to like short circuit him with water.
Well, she thought it was over before that, right? With the sword.
Oh, try, yeah, she put the sword through him too. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Then he comes back.
Yeah, comes back again. Yeah. Then she tries to do the sprinkler system thing. She ends up getting her one, or I don't know, a couple fingers chopped off.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, all four fingers of like whenever maybe left or right hand get cut off.
And
And got her ankle slashed.
yeah. And he's doing this like really creepy like crawl across the ground. It's just like how this
Yeah.
thing just will not quit. And finally, like the thing that finally does it is like she rips like some, I don't know, like conduit or something off of the wall and like shoves part of the electric into him to like short circuit him and overblow the insides, and it blows up, and that is finally the end of Robo Santa. So last bit of the film is her running out, and
It's morning now.
yes, and she's just kind of like, well, she made it, but she's what's become of her and everything
Yeah.
else.
So it ends like on a freeze frame close up of her face, kind of looking, sort of hysterical. And I thought, to me, it reminded me a lot of the ending of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm.
Like she survived the night, and now it's day, and but she's kind of gone insane.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that was Christmas Play Christmas. I I thought it was very interesting. I'm glad you recommended this movie, Damon. Otherwise, I probably never would have seen it.
Hmm.
um, hell yeah,
Was this a
moments.
streaming only film?
It was a Shudder film. Did you at one point have Shudder, Jeremy?
A while back I did. I probably need to get that again.
That's probably why I thought that maybe you had seen it because you had Shudder.
So it wasn't in theaters ever.
I don't think so, no.
Hmm. I thought the just the again going to the lack of comedy at the last half. I was laughing a bit at the ridiculousness of how he kept coming back.
Hmm.
It was getting kind of over the top, you know, with the 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 fire with the car and then the sword and then the sprinkler system not doing it and then finally the electrical wiring. Um, it was getting over the top with him coming back, and that almost kind of was like a Terminator recreation scene when he's crawling. I mean,
Hmm.
that's exactly what was happening in the first movie at the end with him crawling through the that factory,
Yeah,
and he was
yeah.
a skeleton
Hmm.
in that part too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons they killed off the Robbie character is because the director just wanted the last part of the film just to be her versus the Terminator, sort of.
Hmm. And she'll be okay, you know. I mean, she'll need therapy. Um,
You can get
she
fingers
can get,
reattached.
yeah, I was gonna say she can get those fingers reattached if they can find them.
Yeah.
And then her ankle will be okay. I don't know how serious that was, but I mean, the biggest thing I think will be the emotional scars with losing her friends and just going through hell. You know, that really was, you could see how hellish that was, what she went through that night. I thought she did a good job, the actress.
Yeah.
How many of
Agree.
you do either of you know anyone who is missing fingers?
Mm, no, I don't think so.
My uncle lost like part of these two fingers like in a snowblowing accident.
Oof.
Oh,
And then I remember I had a student once who worked at Walmart as a cashier. And he'd be like, he'd be so, I was just overhearing the conversation he was having with another student. He's like, you'd be surprised how many people come in to Walmart who are missing fingers.
Huh. That's random.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, oh, there was one guy in high school that I knew that had I mean, I didn't really know him that well, but everyone knew him as like someone that was missing a finger. That's what he was known for because of a lawnmower accident.
oh my God.
Yeah. Probably keep your hands away from blades, everyone. That's a
Well,
Freaky Film Club PSA.
they reattached John Wayne Bobbitt's, appendage after it was cut off.
Oh.
You know, so you think that if they could do that, they could reattach a finger.
Yeah, you would think so.
Well, yeah, but with the, I mean, if you're referring to the snow blowing incident and the lawnmower incident, maybe the finger was just too mangled, you know, to reattach. With the, at least with the lawnmower one, with the high school student,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that would be my guess too. Like,
this,
There's no
became
finger
something I
left.
wasn't expecting to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I just hope that I get to keep all these throughout my life. But if I have to lose any of them, I'll go for the pinkies. They're pretty
Okay.
useless. Yeah. Well, anyways, hell yeah
Well,
moment.
keep your hands away from the lawnmower and the snowblower.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Even ceiling fans, just in case.
Oh,
You never know. I don't think they're powerful enough, but
yeah. I don't
you
know
just
if
never
those are.
know.
I don't think they would sell those, but you know, you never know.
I overclocked mine.
This would be a good instance for in terms of editing where you could show Jeremy when you stuck some fingers into a toaster.
Yeah. Yeah. I've nearly lost them on that day. Oh, yeah. So, hell yeah moments.
I'm gonna say the cross cutting between the sex scene and then the neighbor guy getting killed.
Okay. Nice.
Um, for me, there was humor when they made it a point. I don't know why they chose to make this a plot point that guy, the neighbor, parked his car there, and they had to point out that it's a Ford Ranchero.
Man,
I don't know why that mattered, but just being somebody who likes cars, I found that funny. And then he comes out when he hears the accident, he's like, "You guys hit my Ranchero." It's like they have to say the name of the car. And then the way he was killed, I have to say, was um, memorable. Because he was mad. It was a road rage dispute, essentially. He's screaming at them, and then they're honking the horn. Uh, I think to get his attention, but that didn't work because he's just mad about the car, and he doesn't know that Santa, or as Jeremy keeps saying, Robo Santa, to
Isn't
make
that what
sure
they
we get the
call him?
distinction. What?
Isn't that what he's called in the movie?
It is, but
Okay.
it's like, yeah, Robo Santa
Gotta be.
is behind him approaching, and he doesn't know that he's about to die. Um, and then he ends up, I think, getting like split in half, just about. So, yeah, I like that moment. It was some humor and then the horror mixed.
I will say, although there was a lot of cool sequences of kills, I'm gonna say I liked the moment where he's crawling at the end the best. It was really cool, like very Terminator-esque, like you said.
Yeah,
Just looked cool. I mean, it was creepy.
yeah. Oh, that reminds me, I wanted to ask why after the fire he had like his eyes were like the lasers. Why weren't they lasers like all the time? Was it because the fire like melted off some, like protectant where the laser wouldn't shine beam through like that? I didn't get that.
That's a
I would
great
imagine.
question. Yeah.
Of course, he- um, the robot is supposed to look like a human being, and for
Hmm.
most of this movie, it does look like a human being. So
Yeah.
obviously, whoever manufactured it wouldn't want lasers shooting out of its eyes because then people will realize it's a robot.
So is that what you said? You agree that you think it like some protectant had melted off?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Because that wasn't those lasers were just like its line of sight, right? It didn't seem to be like anything that hurt her if it went on her, right?
Didn't seem like it.
And
And if it,
did Robo Santa have um like it didn't seem like he had like thermal detection like I think the Terminator has or like motion detection, where it can like because they show the Terminator can like pinpoint like what's living and what's not.
right. Yeah.
It didn't seem like this thing had that.
It would have been, yeah, it didn't seem that way, but it would have been cool, like if, like when he's in first person, if they did like some sort of like heads up display
Yeah.
where he's got some stuff like that. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It would definitely lend more of an explanation too to like why he's always able to follow people so easily.
Yeah, because that is a good point about him knowing how did he know to go to the
PlayStation.
sheriff's office? I mean, how would he even know where the sheriff's office was? You know, it's a
Yeah.
good point.
I guess less it's it was just such a small town that you just drive downtown and that's pretty much where everything is.
Yeah.
There were
So,
I mean one thing about this film that should be pointed out was it was really low budget. And you one of the ways you know that is because they only really had like three locations. Like they had the record store, and then they had the apartment, and then they had the police station, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
so Jeremy, this town kind of reminded me of a town kind of like yours.
Yeah.
Is East Troy that dead on Christmas Eve?
Yes. Yeah. That's pretty realistic. I mean, I wouldn't say like there's nothing, but it's pretty dead. Yeah. I mean, it was dead today. You could go downtown and there's like no cars. I took a run tonight and I didn't see a car. So
Wow.
that's not out of the realm of
Well, you know
possibility.
what? They're they're watching the Packers.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. So, final ratings. Do you want me to give
Uh,
mine?
That's right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give my rating. I'm gonna go 3.5 bottles of Slim Janko out of 5.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
go 4 out of 5 severed fingers.
I forgot that we need these units of measurement. I always forget that. You kind of stole mine. I was gonna say, well, I'll say 4 out of 5. I was gonna say shots of Slim Jenko, but I'll say 4 out of 5 THC cookies.
nice. Okay, that's why I like to go
That's
first, so
completely
I can never
not what I
get.
had. What?
That's why I like to go first, so I don't have to panic and be like, "Oh
Oh,
no, I need a new unit."
well, this movie had a lot of material that way,
True,
you
very
know?
true. Yeah, yeah.
I was impressed. Yeah, Damon, thanks for suggesting that one. I actually liked it. Um the only th again, the swearing was kind of getting annoying, but um I know there's people like that, but again, it just got a little sick of hearing it. But yeah, I thought the dialogue was super realistic between the characters, namely between Tori and Robbie. I thought that they really had a good rapport, those actors. Um, it was interesting because again, they really pulled it off where it did kind of make it entertaining to essentially just listen to them argue and kind of just shoot the shit with each other for 40 minutes, you know?
Yeah,
They did a
definitely.
good job there.
Hmm.
It almost is a little bit like From Dusk Till Dawn, where like the first part of the movie is just like this robbery, and then suddenly it becomes a vampire movie, the second half. So it's like, because yeah, they really do a really good job of establishing those two characters, and
Hmm.
if for its budget, it's an impressive film. It's a low budget
Hmm.
film, but it's entertaining. I'd be if I were the director of the film, I'd be really proud of it. But um,
Yeah, I liked it. I was impressed too with what they were able to do. And I really liked that that record store was pretty cool too,
Hmm.
with all the, I don't know, neon paint or whatever that was.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
and one thing too is like it kind of makes me think like this is a film we could shoot. Like really just a couple locations of with people that we know who work at a store or something like that, and get a couple of actors together, and I think we could probably do something pretty close. I mean, some of the special effects would be hard to pull off, but for the most part, we could have recreated quite a few of these scenes without too much trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're looking for a holiday fun movie to watch, we can all recommend Christmas Bloody Christmas here at the Freaky Film Club. And that's it.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
I wouldn't say it's a family film, but yeah.
Fun for the whole family, just like the alcohol.
Yeah, no.
No, fair enough. But yeah, it's definitely it was a lot of fun, and we'll see you next time. And now some quick thoughts from Derek.
Hi, everybody. My name's Derek Pfister, and this is my take on Christmas Bloody Christmas. To start out, this is definitely not a family Christmas movie. If you thought there was just going to be a little bit of blood, no, this is definitely not a family Christmas movie, and you will see why based off of this. To start off, number one, there was definitely enough gore for all you horror fans out there. It took a while for it to, pick up, especially with the two main characters going back and forth, arguing over why Christmas movies suck, but it definitely gets picked up after that once the android Santa Claus-like guy comes around and just starts, taking everybody out. And that was probably the most enjoyable part. And that's when things start to get good. Number two, the Terminator-like Santa Claus was pretty interesting, something I've never really seen before. That was a cool concept to see. And it was pretty exciting to see Santa kind of hack up people, especially after, Christmas music getting bashed. And I'm someone who does like Christmas music, especially this time of year. Anytime after this time of year, well, I don't want to hear it anymore. But, during Christmas, I want to hear it. All right, moving on to the, not so cool parts. Number one, the lead character and her boyfriend just, it just kind of kept on going and going and going. It was nonstop. And, she kept using the F word every sentence, and that kind of got monotonous. I would say only use that type of language when it's intended and it moves the story forward as for showing their true emotion. But when it's kind of, used over and over, it just kind of gets monotonous. I just lose interest and the character just, I just don't care about the character that much anymore. And she overdid it, and that ruined it for me. As well as I felt that the whole conversation, like during the first part of the movie, it just kind of filled space. It didn't really do much. So it just went on too long where it could have been cut back pretty easily to bring forth more of that Santa killing. Number two, the lighting for me just, it wasn't there. It just didn't fully illuminate the scenes. It was kind of too dark to understand what was going on at some parts. Then again, could have been my TV, who knows? But I would have to give this movie another watch to kind of see it. And lastly, the characters just overall just weren't appealing. I didn't care about any of them. I was more or less rooting for the android just to hack them all up. I would have loved to have seen at least one character that I liked go against the Santa android, but that just didn't end up being there, and I just wanted the Santa android to, take everybody out. Overall, I didn't really care for this movie. It didn't draw my interest other than Santa hacking everybody, but I'd rather watch it for something else beyond that. That's just my opinion, but hopefully you enjoy it more than I did. Merry Christmas, everybody.